Happy Wednesday, and thank you for joining us here on Guided Embrace Radio. We are live on W4CY.com, brought to you by Talk for Media Network. I'm your host, Evrard-Vescio, and today is part of a series called LifeChanging Hour with special guest host David Octavio Gandell. Hello.
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Very well. So happy to have you here. And for our listeners that are joining us for the first time, welcome. And for those listeners that have been here before, welcome back. Here on Guided Embrace Radio, we strive to raise awareness that wherever one might be on their life journey, there are tools available to all of us to enhance the joy and ease the discomfort.
Amen. Well, I missed you for the last couple of weeks.
Yes, I know.
I've been traveling,
It's been a little crazy, but that's why today's show is really valuable. We're going to be discussing winning the race against time, and there's really very few people better, in my opinion, better qualified than David as a life coach to discuss this particular topic. You know, Aristotle said something that really sticks with me and comes up again and again in certainly my moments of overextension and feeling like I'm in a battle against the clock. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And, you know, I feel like this spills over into really every area of our life. Excellence is different for everybody, certainly, right? And we can't get where we're going if we keep doing the same thing and it's not working.
Correct. And it's perception as well. I mean, it's you know, excellence and who perceives it and what their perception of excellence could be. Excellence could be anything from just being able to do something every day, versus some people is they have a quota, a financial quota, and I want to talk about that today as well, as to talk about money. But it's interesting. I put a quick little video on Instagram yesterday, and I asked a question. Well, the question was basically, what is your most valuable asset, most valuable commodity, most valuable, what is the one thing that's most valuable? And everybody was calling me, my friends text me and whatever, so I got the answer. Nobody got the answer, so I'll give it to you today. It's time. The one thing that we cannot buy is time. Yet we spend all our lives trying to make money, yet money cannot buy time. And that to me is just is so surreal, especially when I look at Steve Jobs, I look at someone or anyone else that had passed away of cancer that had so much money. And you know, they always ask me, what do I feel about it? I've never met the man, so I don't have a discussion about him. But I do have discussion about, you know, there's not enough money that you can have in life that will actually buy you an extra ounce of time. You know, when I went through cancer, you know, the insurance and all that stuff, but it was weird how God just kind of had all this planned, and all these doctors came to an aid and wanted to find out, you know, what they could do at the last second, but before that there was no cure. Yet it wasn't about money. Wasn't. I felt like the president of the United States. I felt like everybody was kind of, you know, trying to see if a miracle would happen. But certainly, it wasn't money that bought me my life, and it wasn't money that bought me my health. And it's interesting how people every single day, especially friends of mine that I consult or I guide or whatever, and at the end of the day, they're going after that money, yet they don't ever enjoy it. And then when they do get sick, there's not enough money to get them, you know.
Well, right. And you know, and that's interesting that you bring that up, because first of all, like you said, perception. You know, perception becomes our reality, and so many people, myself included, have been caught up at one time or another in saying there's just not enough time. You know, there's not enough hours in the day, and that's not true.
There's plenty. It's what we do with it.
Right. It's what we do and what we focus on. And certainly, if anyone has been part of an intimate life and death situation, whether as the patient, as you were, or as an advocate or a caregiver, as I have been many times, or as a bereavement coach, which is something that I've done, all of a sudden you realize time is surreal, and it does stand still. And guess what? The important things get done.
Well, if
in
you
those moments,
choose to.
right?
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, you know, there are many things we are doing in our days and our weeks and our years that we think are productive, and oftentimes we think we're accomplishing something only to look back, and that's not what we were doing with the time at all.
Correct, and I'm asked that question all the time. I made my living as a consultant in business and managing gyms and training clients, and you know, after battling cancer and then 4 years ago walking away from something like that, you know, it puts my perspective every single day is very different, because I find myself spending time with people that I probably wouldn't have 4 years ago or 8 years ago or 10 years ago. I find myself looking for that opportunity, asking God for that opportunity to put me in front of someone that I can actually make a difference. And you know what, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, these people hopefully realize like what I was doing, even if they were just a friend that I spent time with or a client, I was investing in them, because I truly believe that God would not put them in front of me unless there was a reason and a purpose for me to help them guide through somewhere, maybe a confirmation or maybe just a breakthrough. And you know, I always pray that the people that are in my life realize that at some point that I'm investing, because eventually, you know, my biggest joy would be for me to get to see them do what I already envisioned for them to do. And if they can get that and help other people at the same time,
Absolutely.
you know, certainly we wouldn't be worried about who's running for what office or whatever. We would be worried about, you know, just ourselves and our group and our time for that day, you know. And people always say, well, David, why are you rushing it? Well, it's hard for me not to rush it, because, you know, I'm one of those people that, you know, I live today. That's
Right.
it.
You
I
know the value of now.
I don't know tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know if tomorrow I wake up and there's a pain. I don't know if there's tomorrow. I don't know, because I'm not God. I can't predict that. I can only say that, you know what, I can do something today. I can call you today. I can pray with you today. I can make time for you today. And that's
what
the
we
best
have
thing.
is now, right?
Correct.
I mean, there's a really good book. I haven't read it. I've listened to it as an audio book. As you know, I travel in the car a lot. The car's my office many times. But it's by Andrew J. Mellon, Unstuff Your Life. And now he is, on the surface, addressing, you know, the clutter issue that we've all experienced in one way or another at some point. And, you know, our paperless society truly is not a paperless society. But so on the surface, the book looks like, you know, it's just addressing the things that surround us. But he goes so much deeper than that, and he gives insight and raises awareness to how there's different types of clutter. We can have mental clutter that keeps us from our true, authentic spiritual path, right? And then, of course, we can be surrounded by things. And, you know, he talks about the someday issue. And there is no someday. And, you know, so many of us, especially like when you look at so many very hardworking and passionate moms, for example, get caught up in this superwoman syndrome and, oh, someday, you know, we're going to do the scrapbooks and we're going to sew all the Halloween costumes for our kids. And you know what? Yeah, even Martha Stewart isn't able to do that, and she has a staff, you know, and most of us don't. So instead of like stressing and you know, visualizing what isn't going to happen and what needs to happen, start now with baby steps, right? And unclutter, you know, from the inside out.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? And just quiet your mind, and there's steps that you can then take to get where you want to go, and there is enough time for that.
Correct. And you know, the thing is, to me, at the end of the day, I want to make sure when I go to bed, and I want to look at my day, and it's not how much I did, it's what I did and why I did it. Why did I meet with somebody? Why did I text this person? Why did I, you know, do this job? Why? You know, and I answer that question to myself every day to make sure that tomorrow, you know, I'm grateful for what I already did, but for sure I want to do more. And with that one day, you know, as I get to, every day is your birthday. It could be, because you're basically you've been given a gift every day. God's been blessing you with breathing every day, and you know. But it's interesting to talk about kids, and we talked about this at the last show. We talked about worrying. You know, you worry about, are you going to be a good mother? Then you worry when the baby is, if they're going to get hurt. Then they start walking. Then you worry about them running. And then, and it's funny, I was watching something this week and they were talking about, oh, I can't wait to stop worrying about my child. And it just, all of a sudden I listened to my mom. I don't know if my mom's listening, but hey mom, if you're listening. But my mom, it's interesting because I listen to her voice, I will never stop worrying about you. And it's not in a negative way.
No.
It's just that, that unconditional love from a mother or from a father or from God, it doesn't go away. And the worry is that they, of course, want what? The best for you.
The best.
That's it. That's simple. There is no other answer. They want the best. Now, the best could be their perception of what is the best. But again, that's all they want. So if you're not doing your best, or there is something that you're going through, to a parent, and to you probably, I know you probably realize this all the time, it's the worst thing that can ever happen. If your kid gets sick, or if something happens, or the school, or whatever, it's the worst thing for that moment, because that's your flesh and blood, that's your child. And so I said, I don't think any parent ever stops worrying.
Yeah, and I think it's all balance. I think that worry is a natural component as a human, and I don't think you should stuff that feeling. I think it's okay to feel even what we perceive as the negative feelings. At the same time, I think that if you let it consume your life,
correct.
That
levels. We got to talk about levels later today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Balance, because again, that can become a time squelcher. That can definitely. So on that note, let's take a quick break, and we will be right back here on Guided Embrace Radio.
For everybody in Facebook, you can share this link right now, and we'll be right back with you. So please share it, give your comments, and we'll hopefully get back to them as well today. If not today, at the next show.
So, yeah, it's interesting when you think about time, right? And I don't know, I think that it's so important, at least I know for me, to not stay connected to the past. And I'm not saying like don't learn from your mistakes, or don't, applaud what you feel like your successes are, but don't live there, live here. Like what can I do today? Like today I woke up, I'm breathing, like you said, like this is a gift, thank you, like approach it with gratitude. And for me also with young children in the house, I want to be the best version of me, because I want to be able to serve God and be a force for good. But I also have these 3 little guys that are looking to me, right? And I'm the female role model for them.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Welcome back. We're here live on Guided Embrace Radio on W4CY.com, brought to you by Talk for Media Network. I am your host, Evrard-Vescio, and I am thrilled to be here with my special guest host, David Octavio Gandell. And we are talking here on the LifeChanging Hour series about winning the race against time. And I actually have another great quote. It's by H. Jackson Brown Jr., and I really like this one. Don't say you don't have enough time. You have exactly the same number of hours per day that were given to Helen Keller, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Jefferson, and Albert Einstein. I really, really like that one.
Absolutely.
Because, now again, talking about the definition of success, and this is something that is very subjective, and
perception.
And success for me might look and feel very differently than success for you. But I think that the point being, we're all given the same number of hours every day.
Absolutely.
Same number of weeks every year, and it's what we choose to do with it. And
Correct.
And I don't feel that there should be, and there certainly isn't, a cookie cutter approach to how people spend their time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the perception of like where you're talking about success to somebody is, I want to make $1 million. Success to somebody else is, You know, I want to have a family. I want to have children. Success to somebody is I want to continue my parents' business. I want to keep their legacy.
Absolutely, right.
You know,
right.
I mean, there's some, or I want to invent somebody. For entrepreneurs out there, you know, every single day to them, it's a new. I love meeting entrepreneurs, especially those business seminars I've done. It's like every day to them is a brand new day because they have a new idea, and they're like, I can redo this, and I can redo that, and I can go after that, and that's a great way of looking at life.
Yes.
Instead of just a project, but looking at life as every day I can redo something.
And not just task-based. Like,
correct.
You know, I'm sure in your travels, and especially in the coaching arena like me, we see that it's about working smarter, not necessarily working more or harder. You know, there's this sense, I think, in our society that sometimes saddens me, and it's this air of hyper-productivity, and that everybody almost gets in a mode of competitiveness, like competing, who's busier, who's doing more. I don't know, I think we're missing the mark there. I don't think that's what it's really about.
Well, I think your biggest challenge is yourself. It's never been about someone else. I've always said that in school. A test, you know, aptitude test or SAT, or you know, when I got the math part or whatever, my dad used to say, you know, you should be this and this, because your math was always I was per scores and or my SATs and math, not the other stuff, but in math at least I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. But it wasn't ever about competing with my next door friend or whoever was there. It was literally me. I wanted to just get better myself. But I think in life, your biggest competition is always yourself, because you're the one that's ever stops yourself from doing anything, or distracts yourself from doing anything else. It's not really people. I always say, don't ever blame somebody for something you do. Don't ever blame somebody for your feelings or for your whatever. Don't blame them. Just look at yourself and say, okay, why am I allowing them to make me feel like that? And that's okay. Some of us need to work at it. All of us. That's me included. We all need to work at that and say, okay, why am I allowing that person? Maybe because I care about them too much. Maybe because I miss them. Maybe because I
see what you're saying.
I want them more in my life, but then I'm allowing them to make me feel negative because of them. But it's not them. It had nothing to do with them. It was really you. But usually I tell people, and myself, I'm like, okay, why am I allowing that person to take my joy away? What is it about them? So then,
I see. Yes.
And then I try to, like, you know, little by little, just kind of either write it down or put my thoughts and go out and say, okay, God, okay, why this person? Why not that person? What, you know? But at the end of the day, it's you that allows your feelings to go there. And when we talk about worrying or doubt or fear or depression or any of those things, we all have it. Every single one of them. You know, and someone asked me that, I think at the show last time I talked, I had no doubt that I was going to be healed. There's a difference. I had no doubt that God could heal me.
So there's a difference. You were relying on your own power.
Exactly. I tried. I did it myself. I tried for months to do it myself, and nothing worked. I did holistic treatment. I did all that. It didn't work. It was when I was finally in a little, almost like a baby position in my bed at the emergency room, where God took over. It's like, okay, now you can't do anything, so now let me work.
Right.
And then the phone call came, and then the ambulance came and took me somewhere. But it was interesting because people can take words differently, and I know we all do. So I want to clarify that. It wasn't that I didn't have fear, and it wasn't that I didn't have doubt, and it wasn't that I wasn't worried. It was I had no doubt that God could heal me if He wanted to. I had no fear because I knew where I was going. You know what I'm saying? So it's different.
Yeah, it's that expression, let go, let God.
Correct. So it wasn't about that, but we all suffer from something. We can all be depressed about something. We can all have worry or doubt or fear or insecurities. It's to what degree, and you said it earlier, is how do you balance that to make sure that you can, your day, your time, you're not allowing those things to take over your time and you're wasting it.
Right, and are you getting caught up in so many tasks that you're a hamster in a wheel? And perhaps look at that, And I say this from firsthand experience.
I know. We talk about this all week,
we
Jackie.
talk about this a lot, What is it,
We're running around.
Right, and what is it personally that perhaps I'm possibly trying to avoid. So that's why I encourage people to listen and learn, because those of us who have experienced certain things, right, we're able to then say, hey, this is what I was feeling, just like you might be feeling, and this is what I realized. So I know for me, I have to slow myself down sometimes and just get quiet within myself and just notice what I'm noticing. You know, what is it, and is there something that I'm trying to avoid? Is it on a professional level or a personal level? And you know, I even talk to my boys about this, mostly my older one, but even my little guys, because I try to like permeate their
You're planting a seed. You're planting seed. You're watering the seed.
But you know, every day when you're looking at what you're doing, and you know, yes, as adults, we have to earn money and pay our bills, and I think it's important to be self-sufficient. So I'm not minimizing the role that money plays. That said, when you're looking at the way you're spending your life, is it nourishing your body, right? Is it strengthening your mind? Is it reviving your soul? Because if it doesn't somehow fall into any of those categories,
and it's funny, I'm sorry,
why do it?
But all those three things, you can actually interchange.
Nourishing your soul, right? Reviving your
I love
body.
that.
Absolutely.
So that those three things we need to. We have it on tape, so it's okay. But you can literally interchange all those things. But what's interesting about your son, you were telling me about the foundation that he created.
Yes.
Which one was it again?
Bright Blue Bicycle Foundation.
Yeah, and why did he do that?
Again, to me, that's a God thing, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes. So whether you want to call it God or a higher power or energy, God is what resonates with me.
Correct.
And you know, this boy was only 6 or 7 years old. Now he was my firstborn.
Yes.
So I had nothing to compare it to. But now my little ones are, you know, they just turned 7, so they're that age, and I love them all passionately and deeply, but I can say as a mom, they're wired differently.
Yes.
And the twins are little boys, and they're incredible little boys, right? Michael, he's an old soul. He's an old soul stuck in a child's body, and at 6 or 7 years old, he was the only student in a school that went from kindergarten to 8th grade that signed up for a charitable initiative as an after-school activity. So he was automatically made president because he was the only one in the school that signed up. And
well, that's it. Hey, that's a lesson. If no one's running, you run. At least you can make a difference.
And so he helped spearhead an initiative for a bike drive. Well, that just, I don't know, it catapulted him. And the next thing I knew, this little boy is telling me, Mom, I don't want to wait till I'm an adult to make a difference in the world.
Amen. In
my childhood, I want to do great things for people in need. And so, you know, again, having nothing to compare it to, I'm like, okay, well, we have twin babies in the house right now, and, you know, good luck with that. I mean, thinking it's a phase. Well, next thing I know, he comes to me with the name of his charitable initiative and what he's going to do and how he's going to bring peers on board. And, you know, he's almost 13 and he's still going at it. So, again, that's an interesting use of time at a young age, but also infused with God and spirituality, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely. And you know, I would say, well, that you had to take a part in it because you had to support them. And I say this to kids all the time when I speak at these graduations with the parents there. I always say to the parents, don't ever be the one to tell your son that their dream is not going to come true. Let the world do that. Let the principal, the coaches, the mentors, let them do it because they're going to do it anyway. You're going to, at some point in your life, even if your life has gone straight up, at some point in your life, you're going to hit a wall. Why? Because God needs you to kind of like, okay, hey, you need me here. You can't do it by yourself. I got you. But it's okay. It's a learning experience. But at some point, you're going to hit a wall. At some point, someone's going to say no to you. But don't be the one. Like my mom used to say, well, I don't want you to do this because I don't want you to get hurt. But she still signed the paperwork for me. She just said, okay, let's make a deal. What do you want to do? Oh, clean your room, do this, whatever. So I say, okay, what do I need to do to get something that I want?
Right.
And that's what I always say to people. There's never a no. It's a maybe. That to turn that no into a maybe into a yes, then you need to ask that question. What am I going to do? What do I need to do to you or for you? So then I can go ahead and do this. You know, and sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes you have to, you know, build a relationship with someone, build a relationship with a company.
Sure.
And then finally, after a certain amount of time, they see that you're dedicated and committed and ready to go. And at that moment, they say, okay, let's go. Now we can do business with you. Now we trust you. Now we know you're in here. But when it comes to children, you know, especially, you did your part. You supported him. What if you would have said no?
True.
You know what I'm saying? Who knows where Michael would be right now? I mean, who knows where his mindset would be right now? If mom can't give me the okay, who will?
And it's so, you know, children, you know, as different as they all are, they, you know, we just did a show at 12 noon in our series for growing the gifted child, and it's interesting because they want to please. You know, they want the glory of their mom and dad, and to a certain extent that's good, but I even try to squelch that a little because I want them to feel the glory inside, you know, and be internally and intrinsically motivated, not always looking to others, right?
Correct.
For the accolades.
Exactly. Yes.
At the same time, I think it's important as adult role models in any capacity in a child's life. Don't squelch their dreams. You know, you're right, because you know, you think back to when you were a child. I remember my friends and I, we'd be doing this, that, or the other, you know, usually in a good, positive way, sometimes not so much. And I'd always have this expression, there's a way for everything.
Correct.
There's a way for everything, right? Well, as adults, we often lose that childlike belief and faith.
Amen. Absolutely.
And that's a shame, right?
Absolutely. And it's so interesting that, you know, we're talking about that now. You know, when it comes, and I say this to people that don't have, are not, you know, blessed to have the parents that I'm, you know, like my parents or anybody like that. There's people that don't have parents. I have clients and friends that their parents were not there to support them. Their parents are the total opposite, and that's why they're going through what they're going through now, because they wanted to please. You know, they look at their parent as the one to please. And but what I do believe in, and I've seen this with other people, is they do have coaches and mentors and teachers sometimes that are the ones that believe in you. And because of them, you're able to succeed in life. So I always believe that God will always place, even if it's not your parent, I will believe that there's someone in your life that's going to make sure to do that, you know, friend or someone that God would just connect you with, a divine appointment.
I love that.
But you know, the way you said it was exactly what I always write to my mom and my dad. I said, I always want you guys to be proud of what I do. And even at my age, it doesn't matter. Like,
absolutely.
I put a post of the first time I spoke at my dad's church. And it's one of the best days of my life because that was one of my dreams. My dreams was for my father and my mother to see me to see me share my testimony in their church. And I was able to do that multiple times now in the Presbyterian Church in Tampa. And it touched me a lot while I was posting it the other day, because I was like, that was a dream that came true. You know, I did a play a few years ago that I didn't even audition for. It was a big play. We did it in Fort Lauderdale. We did it in Georgia, Atlanta. It was You're Never Alone, a play that was done by Henry Fernandez. He wrote it and directed it. And I thought my dream of being an actor was done. And all of a sudden, I get handpicked to do this part. And just looking at those pictures and just reminiscing and thinking about just 2 years ago, every rehearsal to me was so special, because I was actually doing something that I always wanted to do. And now, after cancer and after all these things that happened, I had the moment, and I was able to be on stage and do that. And I will never forget that moment when I got on that stage, because it was like God revealing to me, it's like, you know, I had this for you.
Right.
You know, I gave you the talent.
Right.
I gave you the talent to be on stage. I gave you the talent to be a speaker. I gave you all the talent.
Not to just take it away from you.
Correct. So.
That's beautiful. No, David, that's beautiful, because something, again, and I have to remind myself of this sometimes. Sometimes we get caught up in what we're doing with our time, and maybe feeling, well, a sense of guilt, and that's selfish, and all I can say is, I know, at least for my life, the world gets a better version of Jackie when I'm plugged into my own authenticity.
Absolutely.
So when I'm doing tasks from a place of love, right? And even if it's doing the laundry, I'm serving my family, right? You know, if I'm out speaking somewhere, even if I just touch one person in that audience, That's great, because I'm doing it from the heart, and when I'm not living authentically, the world's not getting the real version of me.
Correct.
So that's for any of us, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to make sure that you understand that what we're talking about today is just, everybody's individual. You're all unique.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but one thing that I want to touch on that we kind of went on a little bit at the beginning was, you know, getting that accolade, getting someone to say you're worth it, you're valuable, I love you, getting somebody to just, you know, say you did a good job. You know, and the world is not, you know, everyone's after what they're after, so at the end of the day, but I've learned to try to make sure that what I'm doing, that's why I ask myself why I'm doing something. To me, it's always about a greater power and a greater vision, or a greater purpose. Purpose is the word I was looking for. You know, it's not about just that. It's about really taking that moment in and understanding that, you know what, God loves me. You know, He told I'm valuable, I'm worthy, and thank God that I have the parents that I do that as well confirm that. Because sometimes we don't have anyone else confirming it. But I promise you that if you continue, you know, to listen to that inner voice, and continue to live your life with a purpose, and continue to do these things and spend time, you know, giving to others your gifts and your talents sometimes, I promise you that all those accolades and all those things will come through. I told you about that award that I got. I didn't expect it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting that meant so much to me, because you put all this work in and you believe in so much, and then all of a sudden someone says, oh, by the way, thank you, you're worth it. So, you know, if anybody's listening to us today, is like, I want to let you know that you are worth it.
Absolutely.
And that we, you know, we love you, you know, as a brother in Christ or sister in Christ. We love you. We you know, you have a meaning and you have a purpose. And if there's anything out of this show you get, I hope that's what you get. Because, but you have to understand that you have to answer that question, why? And you have to listen to your inner voice and say, okay, where am I supposed to do with my time? Am I sacrificing this time doing this, where I could be sacrificing the same time, but maybe this could lead to something. It might not be tomorrow,
right,
but it might be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And then you get all those, at that moment you're going to get that you know, that award or whatever. You know, I'm giving you an analogy. But sometimes we can sacrifice 40 years of our lives doing something that we weren't even happy about. And
that will cause bitterness and resentment.
Correct.
I mean, how many times have you spoken to people or seen people and you know, you dive deeper and you find out they, you know, admirable, great, they were working hard, they were doing this or that or the other, but it's not what they wanted to be doing.
Correct.
And so now they're filled with this negativity, and that will spill over to
Regret.
health. Right, regret. Like, you know, I always say, you know, if you're going to eat that Oreo cookie, just enjoy that Oreo cookie. And
Absolutely.
don't beat yourself up for it. And know what? If you're going to be upset that you ate the Oreo cookie, just don't eat it.
Yeah.
You know, I have a very dear friend. She's constantly saying, like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this. You know, I'm like addicted to Candy Crush. Candy.
The game?
The video. Is
the
it a
game.
video game?
It's
Right?
an app. It's an app. Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay, you're choosing to do that. Either enjoy doing it, right? And feel good that that's how you spent your time, or take it off your tablet and don't, right? I mean, you know, like, be in one place or the other. You can't live on both sides of the fence with this. But
you can spend time. You know, some people will say, "Well, you know, I have to have some." That's fine. Listen, if that brings joy to your life, Candy Crush.
Right. Go for it.
Go for it. But listen to us. But give yourself a time frame.
Yes.
And say,
right.
okay, for the next 30 minutes, it's just like me and my workout. I'm gonna go work out. I have an hour and a half. That's it. Let me make sure that, and let me make sure that I make the most out of that hour and a half that I'm training. Let me put it all in, because after that I'm done. So put yourself a time frame. That's one way of organizing yourself. This is a free advice from.
Yes, exactly.
from I'm kidding.
Exactly.
But just give yourself a time frame, and make sure that, and again, you know, go back to asking yourself why you do what you do every single day. That is a question I ask in business. That is a question I ask in any kind of forum or platform that I'm given. Ask yourself why. And I promise you the answer is not probably something you want to hear. But I always say, you know, if you're going to sacrifice your whole time for this, what are you going to get out of it? It might not be about finances. For me, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live a health, a life that I can give to others. But for me, I give a lot of my time. And people always ask me, why do you do that? I said, you know what? I pray about it, and I'm obedient. So you don't have to worry about it, because it's not you're not living my life.
And you suit up and you show up, and
that's it.
And amazing things happen. All right. On that note, let's take a really quick break, and we will be right back on Guided Embrace. You know, we've talked about during the show the importance of really noticing what you're noticing, and what are you doing? What are you actually doing every day, especially those days where you just feel like there's never enough time? Are you living your soul's purpose? Are you being authentic? Are you caught up in the subconscious competition with others about being so ultra productive and task oriented and filling every second of the day with something? Because I don't think that's what it's all about. I don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Correct. It's not about filling in time. It's always about seizing the moment and making the best out of your time. There's something it's interesting how we are when it comes to, and I wrote these things down. When time is running out, all of a sudden we start getting anxiety or something like that. When the bell rings at school, we're always looking for that bell to ring. Why? Because we're like, we want to get out of school.
Right.
So there's certain things about time, but then what did you do for that hour? You were looking at the clock, waiting for the kids out there, waiting for that clock to ring so you can get out of school. So you just wasted an hour.
Good point.
If it's 2:30 or whatever.
Like the clock watchers, if you've ever worked in a corporate environment or managed other people, and they're the people that
do something with that time.
Right, they're watching the clock.
That's what they're doing. They're not doing anything productive.
No.
And the other part is, and then there's the opposite, deadlines. So you look at the people that are looking at a clock for it to finish every single day. How many hours did they just waste looking at a clock? Am I done? And then there's the other people that do deadlines. Work. They do so much in such a little bit amount of time because there's a deadline. Tomorrow this thing is done. Oh, well, I didn't get it done, so I got to get it done. And they get it done. So to me, it's like it's total opposites. You got someone that didn't do it, and then they have a deadline, and then they do it now, and they get it done. Somehow, miraculously, it gets done, right? As a manager, I know, every week there was a deadline. Every day there was a deadline. Every month there was a deadline. When it came to different facilities or different trainers or different whatever that I had, goals and things that we had to get to. But there was always a deadline about the reports. And sometimes I would be in the gym till 1 o'clock in the morning finishing the reports because I didn't want to worry about it in the morning before I had my meeting. So I get that. So there's that end, and they get so much done in such a little bit of time. And then there's the other end when they get nothing done in a lot of time.
Right. And and again, time management skills, just time management 101, you learn complete the most important tasks first.
Correct.
Not necessarily the tasks that you like the most, right? Because come on, there's going to be things that we're doing in our day-to-day lives that we don't necessarily love doing.
Correct.
Even as part of a project that we totally love doing.
Yes.
There might be, but complete what's most important first.
Well, and there's two different people that I've learned. When I've done seminars like this, you have someone that needs affirmation. So you write your top 10 things you got to do today if you're in a business setting. For example, this is not a personal setting, this is more of a business setting.
Okay.
And they need to do, first they need to have a meeting with somebody, then they need to organize their desk, then they need to, whatever. They need to do little things first, and then they get it going, and then they already have a sense of accomplishment, so then they get to the big part, right? And then there's the other people that need to start with the big part. They don't need the affirmation, they just need to get the big part because they need to finish that job, or it stresses them out. So there's those two kind of people. Like we talked about in the first show, fear. There's people that have, that have their fear.
It could be. So again, it's not a cookie cutter approach. The most important task for the person in scenario 1 was to be able to build that momentum.
Build the momentum.
So those little tasks were the most important tasks, right?
Absolutely.
In that scenario. And the other one, because that feeling of being able to check it off the list.
They need to get the biggest thing out of their the way.
Right.
Correct. And there's people somewhere in the middle. They get one or two things done and they go tackle that. The most important because they know it's going to take the most amount of time. So I understand that, but there's people that can't even get there because you know what they'll do? They'll twiddle their thumbs, they'll go like this for like the next hour trying to figure that big project out. But if they would have done those little things, they would have had momentum and it would have been confirmation and it would say, okay, I can do this now. Oh, I'm doing it, I'm getting it done. It's just like working out. You start with, listen, getting to the gym is the hard part. When you start 10 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, I got energy, I'm feeling good. It's just getting started. So that momentum. So what Jackie said basically is time management. Learn what your time management is. Learn it. There's plenty of courses. There's plenty of people that, you know, we're not the only ones that do this in life.
No.
You know, learn from someone you trust. Learn, you know, do your research, and that's what we're here for, to kind of give you some guidance. Is that, you know, that's the guide and embrace. Is to give you the guidance that you need in your sources of life. But find out, you know, what are your time? Why is it that you can't get that task done? Why is it that you get stuck somewhere? You have to do those. You have to get those resources.
Well, and many times throughout my life, I've worked in a home office environment. That can be a blessing or a curse.
It's both for me. Yeah.
Yes,
I work from home. Yeah.
And I mean, I can remember times where I got so caught up in the busy work around the house. 2 hours could go by and I'd be like, what am I doing? What, right?
Correct.
So, you know, compartmentalizing, for me, I have friends that the beauty for them of working from home is they literally can work in their pajamas. For me, even if I'm at home,
I can't work in my pajamas.
Psychologically, no, I need to dress for success or I'll be back in the bed sleeping in my pajamas. So,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, and so just evaluating and I think also looking at everything with a certain amount of understanding and empathy for yourself. You know, be gentle with your own soul.
Correct.
You know, if you messed up yesterday, that's okay.
It's yesterday.
It's yesterday.
Start
Learn
over.
from it, grow from it, and do it differently today.
Start over.
You know, and that's something that I can't impress upon friends, clients, loved ones, relatives enough. Like, enough of beating ourselves up all the time, because it's not going to get us where we need to go anyway.
No, and you know, and I get it from I have certain people that come across my path that you know, they want to tackle that issue, and I get it. Listen, everybody has we're all unique. So, but do something. You know, start the day differently. Do something good today, or do a different task, or go for something different today, and then after you do a couple things that day, you know, hopefully positive, then you know, you're maybe in a different mindset to tackle that issue that happened yesterday, that happened the week before.
Absolutely.
Because the one thing I will always say, when you go through something like what I've gone through, and you know, have an illness and be told that you're done, the one thing you realize is that when you are told you're sick, nothing else matters. When you're told you're gonna die, and nothing else matters. The issue at work, the issue with the girlfriend, the issue with the family, the issue with nothing matters. No, I can tell you that from
scratch on the side of your car. So what?
Not even a scratch. It's one of those love bugs that hits the windshield.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, like when you're told you're dead or you're dying, that's it. There is no tomorrow, like Rocky said, or Apollo, or one of those. There is nothing. Rocky reference, I love those. But but I will tell you that none of those things matter. And if you just stop and say, okay, why am I worrying about that for now? Like, do something else, and then come back to that if you really, really need to. But what I'm saying is that none of those things matter when you know that you're maybe not going to live. And guess what? Let me give you a secret out there, everybody. This is an epiphany. We're all going to die at some point. So let me just give you that. If you didn't know that by now, as a promise that you are born and you will die.
It's part of the life cycle.
You know, what I hope you don't do is you die young, and I hope that you don't die with your dreams in the casket. And that's what I've always said to people. If you dream it, you're supposed to live it. And you will find that joy through living your purpose. But if you don't live it and you continue to waste your time doing what you think is okay to do, just laying around doing whatever, I promise you, you're going to die with those dreams. And I promise those dreams were supposed to be a blessing to other people, because it wasn't just for you, it was for other people. So I will tell you that. And these are 4 things I wrote, Jackie, when we were talking about the subject. You know, I always find a reason why I survived, reasons why I have dreams, the reasons why I am tested, and the reasons why I believe in certain people. I ask myself those questions pretty much every week, you know, and I look at my life and said, why did I survive? For whom did I survive? You know, why do I keep having these dreams? And why am I being tested? Well, we go through school, your kids are in school every day, and they have to be tested. Why? So they can grow, so they can learn. And so I always believe that every day to me is a test. I look at it as a test. And yes, there is I put the bell ringing there because I always believe that, yeah, at some point I'm going to be out of school today. Right. So how much can I get done today? How much can I learn today? How much can I put into my day? And then when that bell rings, I'm done. I did everything I could today. I passed the test. I'm fulfilled. So I look at those 4 questions, and I ask you to ask yourself those questions at any moment. It doesn't have to be right now. You can, you know, I'll put them on Facebook, and you can look at them later. But, you know, surviving doesn't mean cancer, by the way. I want to make sure, we talked about this, you know, when we first met, surviving your cancer, it wasn't about anything else. It was about, you know, surviving whatever it is that you're going through in life, you know. And then, you know, look at your dreams, look how they can be possible. Even if they look impossible, just pray about them. And then your test, you know that you can pass it. Know that you have all the tools. If you are tested with something, you have the tools to pass it. I promise you that. And then believe in certain people. I promise you that. You have to give of yourself. Like, you know, Jackie and me talk every week, and it's always about how many people she's going to visit, how many people she's helping. And she's going to school and helping with this. She's doing this and then that. And she asked me the same question. I said, well, I can tell you the same thing. How many hospitals did I visit? How many people did I invite to my place? How many clients did I see this week? How many, you know? We both do that, but it's funny because that's the reason we're doing this together. Because we just believe in being a blessing to other people.
Well, and you know, at the end of the day, at the end of a year, and at the end of our life, it boils down to loving and being loved. Right. It's really all about the love and connecting. I can't believe our time is up. This flew by. No pun intended here, but like time has escaped us, and we will be back here on Life-Changing Hour. David, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jackie, for the blessing.
Dad, if you're listening, of course I love you, and we wish you all things bright and beautiful until we meet again.